Hi, John with eTrailer. If you have an F-150 and you're looking to flat tow, then check out eTrailer's Direct Connect base plate kit on our 2018 Ford F-150. Now, if you're interested in flat towing, there are 5 things that you need, 5 specific components. One of them being the base plate that we're talking about today. This is the actual physical connection on the Ford F-150 here that we can hook up to. 2, we need tow bar wiring. This is going to transmit the signals from your RV through your Ford to the rear taillights, everything from tail marker lights, left and right turn signals, and stop lights. 3, we need a tow bar. This is going to link up your RV and your Ford using the receiver hitch here, and it connects directly to your base plate. 4, you need a supplemental braking system on your Ford. This is required by law, and it's also going to just keep you safe when you're traveling down the highway. And 5th, last thing you need is safety cables. Now, on our eTrailer HD tow bar, these come with it. Other tow bars, you may have to purchase them separately, but these are here just in the event of something catastrophic going wrong. This will keep the tow vehicle here, the Ford, linked up with the RV to get you pulled over to the side of the road safely. Let's take a closer look at the base plate. Like I said, this is a direct connect. This actually hooks up to the Ford right where the factory tow hooks were. To install this, it wasn't anything more than removing the tow hooks and replacing it with these. As far as the function of these, to get to your destination, it's as easy as unhooking your safety cables, pulling your pin, and if you want a factory look, you can pull these. The arms are removable as well. All you're left with is just the base plate itself, which doesn't extend out further than the front bumper. I think it looks pretty nice on these Fords. And when you're not towing and just driving around town, the kit does come with some panels, blanking panels here that'll slide right over and pop in to keep dirt and debris out of the cylinder. While we have the tow bar off, let's get some measurements on our Ford here. Now keep in mind, this is going to vary depending on the model of your Ford, if you have a 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive. Today's Ford right here, this is a 4x4 King Ranch, and I'm measuring to the center of the pin here, and I have 15 3/4 of an inch to the center right here. And if I go and measure the RV, if you want to measure to the center of the pinhole here, we're looking at 17 inches to the center here. Now, these numbers are important because you want the 2 hitch heights to be relatively in the same plane. You don't want them to be any more than 3 inches out. Now, if you find that if your vehicles do sit like that, there's options for you. We have drop hitches available here. Some of the tow bars, just like this one, have a natural drop to it. And it kept our vehicles well within specs, as you can see. As I mentioned, as far as the installation goes on the Ford here, this was one of the easier base plate installs that we've done here. It's not very involved at all. A lot of the ones that we do here, we end up having to remove the front fascia or at least a bumper. In this instance, we didn't have to do any of that. So if you want to see how it's done, because I think you can do this at home on your driveway or in your garage, stick around. I'll show you how I did it step by step. Now, to begin our installation, we need to remove these covers from our tow hooks up in the front here. Kind of just have to manhandle these things. We've got a flathead screwdriver, and I kind of pry it on the bottom, and you pull them out, and then kind of pull down. So I'll show you right now on this passenger side, on the driver's side one here. They're in there pretty good. There's no fasteners or anything holding them on there. We've got 2 tabs on the inside up here that are kind of holding it together, but these won't be reused, so don't worry about damaging them. Just kind of prying out from the bottom at the same time I'm pulling. Okay, so there's the bottom. And then in order to pull them down, This little tab right here in the middle needs to come over the ring here, otherwise you can't pull it down. Just like that. And then work it out. So do that for both sides. We'll take a 15mm socket and we're going to completely remove the front bolt on these tow hooks and we're going to set it aside. We will be reusing them. Just have a 15mm wrench. Now the back bolt here, we just need to loosen enough to remove the tow hook. So it's probably enough right there. And just slide it back, it's keyholed. So that's removed. You can set these off to the side. Do this on both sides. Now we have the bolts from the Ford. In the kit, you're going to get blue Loctite, and we recommend using blue Loctite on all the bolts. Now, in order to do this, there's a nut plate up here that both of these screw into. So you're going to have to kind of lock that plate down. So if we're going to put blue Loctite on this back one, just kind of line up the front and thread that in there. We don't want that to slide down the frame right now, so we can lock the front one in. We'll remove the back one. You can see the depth of where it was before, so we'll know where to apply the Loctite. Since we're going to be adding, looks like about 1/4 of an inch of steel to it, so it'll be up a little bit higher. So this will give us a good location of where to put the Loctite. So we'll start the back. Now I'll come to the front. Again, you can see about where it was. So here's the base plate. These are interchangeable. These are not side specific. So if they look like this and they don't have a sticker on them that says driver or passenger, then you can go on either side. Some of these will have stickers on them, some of them don't. But honestly, if they're bare like this and you have to assemble them anyway, it doesn't matter which side you put them on. Now you'll see a keyhole slot right here, and that's going to go on this bolt that we left hanging. So you kind of pull down on the plastic, and we'll line up that keyhole with that bolt and then pull forward to lock it in. You don't have to tighten anything down yet. Just do this on both sides. If your bumper is offset down, this kit does come with a spacer that you would put in between the plate and your frame here. You'll know, I think, right away when we put this on. I'll show you. Ours, we have plenty of room up here, but I think on some bumpers, if they're down, you're not going to have enough room here. Just know that if that's the case for you, there are spacer plates that you can use. So we have the factory bolt with the Loctite, and we've got the nut plate up here lined up. So we'll come through, and we'll get that started. And we'll run these down, snug them up, and we'll torque them to the specs that we find in our installation manual. Now for the front, you can use a deep well 15mm. For the back bolt, you're probably going to have to use a crow's foot attachment. Now our next step is going to be drilling a 1/2-inch hole into the frame. It's going to be underneath the car here on the back side. The back of the base plate, you're going to see an elongated slot. This is where we're going to drill our 1/2-inch hole. I'll start this with the 1/2-inch bit. That's going to mark my center point. And then I'll start with a smaller drill bit and step up to the 1/2 inch size. We need to come to the lower charge cooler support. You're going to have a 15 millimeter bolt. We're going to have one on each side. We're going to do this one side at a time though. So we need to loosen this up. And just kind of pull that down and let that hang. In your kit, you're going to get a metal spacer block like this, and then a bolt. The metal spacer block we're going to slide up into the frame, and we're going to be heading for the new hole that we just drilled. So just kind of dump it in there. And if you need a screwdriver or something to line it up, you can. Otherwise, you can eyeball that. Once that's lined up, take your bolt. Also included in your kit, you're going to see a split ring lock washer and a flat washer. And you can apply the blue Loctite. And then thread that onto the spacer block. It may help to put your finger on the block itself to keep it lined up. If it moves on you, you get a small screwdriver to realign it with the hole. Then we'll run this down, snug it up, torque it to the specs that we find in our installation manual. Now we can reinstall the charge cooler bolt and then just repeat this process on the other side. You need your 4.5 inch bolt, the bushing, the nylock nut, the safety cable, and your chain anchor. And we are going to go to the rearmost hole, a set of holes back here on the base plate. The chain anchor is going to go with the bend facing the inside of the vehicle. But before you do that, you need the bolt, the cable, and the bushing. And run these through over to the other side like that. And take your nylock nut and start it. But before you snug it up, make sure you put some blue Loctite on the bolt. Both the bolt and the nut are 19 millimeter. Now with the rear bolt and bushing started, we can put the one in the front here. It's just kind of a tight fit in here, but it does fit. Just take your time and you'll get it in there. And just do the same thing. You can start the bolt and apply Loctite glue, snug them up, and then torque them to the specs that are in your installation manual. Safety cable loop here. We're going to go up and around the frame. We'll stay in between the frame and the charge cooler here. Loop it up and around. We'll take our quick clip here. You can just go around the one side and through the loop there. These cables are rated at 7,000 pounds a piece, and the quick clip is rated at 10,000 pounds a piece. I like to take a zip tie, that's what I'm going to do, and zip tie this together so it doesn't rattle when you go down the road. And that was some of the features in the installation of eTrailer's base plate kit on our 2018 Ford F-150.